they didn't want Tony at their house because they were seeing that their daughter grades were failing. So she would use the opportunity of school to see him. So she would skip school, causing her grades to be bad. I mean, he had her riding around all day like she had no business of her own. Big, pregnant, hungry, and just riding around listening to all these little rap music. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I got another story time, and guess what? It's off another episode of For My Man. So this story time is about a girl named Tiffany, and Tiffany was a smart, intelligent girl. I mean, they said that she would get good grades. She was always consistent in school. I mean, she had so many goals. And her plan was to go to college and make something out of herself. Like, she had these big dreams and she was on the right path to do so. So eventually, like, I guess her good girl life just started becoming boring to her. So she started meeting these friends that always stayed into something. It was always something with these group of people. So eventually she just started hanging out with them heavy and hard. Like, so of course, after a while, Tiffany did not care about her goals anymore. I mean, she was hanging with the wrong crowd that didn't have goals. So what would people expect? So eventually she met a guy named Sam, and her and Sam hit it off. They start going out, they start having fun, and Sam wasn't like the type that was in the books. Like, he wanted to be like out in the streets, just like the crowd that Tiffany was hanging with. So he was not good for her. Matter of fact, he wound up getting Tiffany pregnant, and then a couple of weeks, months go by, and literally they break up. Like, break up. So now she has this big secret to tell her parents. She really don't want to let them down, and she holds that secret for a while. She holds that secret so long that eventually she started to show, so she was going to have to tell him. So one day she wound up setting them down. Mom, Dad, I'm pregnant. And they're looking like, pregnant? Like, how? Like, when? Like, girl? And baby, she was having sex. But she was so disappointed in herself, but at the same time, like, she knew what she was going to have to do, because eventually she was going to have to support another human being. So Tiffany went back into the books. She started getting her grades back up and doing good, to the point where her parents really didn't notice that she was even falling off. So Tiffany is back at school doing her thing and doing what she had to do. And her grades were back to A's and stuff. So everything seemed to be going good. Now her parents know her secret and her grades are up. And so eventually she met this guy named Tony. And her and Tony became friends. They started to get to know each other, to the point where now they started hitting it off real hot and heavy, to the point where Tiffany grades started slipping again. But this time, dramatically, because she wanted to stay wrapped up into Tony, and Tony was more on the let's chill side. Like, he always wanted to chill with her, knowing daggone well she had to go to school. Now, flag one, red flag one, he got he's on parole, he's in trouble, he was in and out of jail, he has this long history of stuff. And to make matters worse, he dropped out of school. He was in nobody's school, so he really didn't care. So he always would bring up he wanted to chill with Tiffany. And the only way that Tiffany was going to be able to see him is skip school. Of course, her parents didn't want her with somebody that wasn't in school and didn't have a goal or any dream set forth. And quite frankly, he couldn't even meet her parents because they didn't want Tony at their house, because they were seeing that their daughter grades were failing. So she was used the opportunity of school to see him. So she would skip school, causing her grades to be bad. I mean, he had her riding around all day like she had no business of her own. Big, pregnant, hungry, and just riding around listening to all these little rap musics and stuff, to the point where Tiffany gets into a altercation which led into a fight at school. Like, oh, the day you decide to go to school, you want to get the fighting. But she was still pregnant, and I guess she tore the girl up, pregnant and all, because they had wound up suspending Tiffany from school to the point where they expelled her. So that fight had to be really bad. So eventually she get kicked out of school, and her parents like, oh no, he like that, your friend definitely can't come around. So now at this point, Tiffany winds up having her baby and everything, and Tony tells her like, why don't you move in with me and my mother don't care, like you should move in with us. And Tiffany wound up moving in with Tony and his mother, and Tony's mother would help watch the child, and to eventually, like, I was thinking like, watch the child for what? Because neither one of them had a job. But eventually, Tiffany got a job at this like grocery store or whatever, and she was working at the grocery store. Tony was happy because he ain't had to do nothing and money was coming in, and the mother was helping him, you know, watch Tiffany child. And so one day she comes home and said, babe, they fired me. Like, yeah, like everything like all cool and dandy, like she was gonna go home and tell her mans and he would be cool with it. Well, Tony was pissed off, like he was mad, and she was like, okay, like it's nothing I can do. And so eventually she wound up calling some of her friends over that day. They came over to chill, and one of her friends was like, she mentioned she got fired and she needed money, and one of her friends was like, oh girl, it's this like little app thing that you can get on and you can get money, but you have to like, you know, use what you got to get what you want. So she was like, you talking like it's prostitution or something. It was. And so she got the app and wound up telling Tony about it, and he was cool with it. He was like, we need the money, why not? Like, okay. Basically, now Mr. Tony turns into Tiffany's whole pimp. So now, like, he taking pictures and stuff of her, like he happy, like she got a good job or something. Like, so he taking pictures of her, and they finally get the website up and, you know, post the pictures that Tony had taken of her. And she started getting business in, more so like college students. So more like the college students would reach out, but she was one of them $2 type girls. So word was spreading fast, especially around the campuses. So her little prostitution business started running, started jumping off, and Tony was happy because this just means he can get sit at home and chill and don't have to do nothing. All while in the meantime, Tiffany baby is being watched by Tony's mother. But honey, I would have been like, boy, come and get this baby. Because first of all, you decided to bring a girl in that was already pregnant and you know it ain't your child. And second of all, I'm not your babysitter, because then one of y'all had nobody's job, no real job. So basically at times Tony would, you know, go with Tiffany just to make sure she's safe and okay. She would meet these people at hotels and everything, to the point where it just started becoming ridiculous. Like, you want your girl to be giving her goods to other dudes all for a financial gain. At this point, you might as well build a whole like house and have a whole prostitution ring and be all a pimp, because that's what you was to her. And it's so weird, y'all, that people will find that okay that their significant other is selling their body parts for money that you gonna have to use instead of going to get somebody's job. But one day, like, it started like getting slow, And each day it started getting slower and slower to the point where Tony like starting to like press her, like, girl, like, we need money. Like, what are you doing? You need to call them instead of waiting for people to call you. Like, let's get this money. What we gonna do? Like, you about to be going stand outside on somebody's corner because we the money. And so eventually she gets a phone call, and it's a college student, and he like, yeah, are you free tonight? And she like, yeah, let's meet up so we can talk about what's gonna come out of this. So she would meet with her clients before giving them any, and like discuss like how much they gonna pay and what the service is gonna be, understanding. So this particular night, she goes to meet up with the college student so they can have a clear understanding. And her understanding was she was going to give him services. He was going to pay her that night. But for some reason, he thought she was a Zelle type of chick. Like, you give me my service and I'll pay you later type chick. And Tiffany was like, no, 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 no. So are you saying you don't have no money? No money, no service. Like, this ain't free. And so he like, well, I get paid like later, and I can pay you later. Like, are you crazy? And for a minute there, I thought she was gonna be like, okay, cause she had drove all the way over there, but she was like, nope, you ain't paying me, you ain't getting none. So at this point, she was like, this conversation over because ain't nothing happening. Clearly, you don't have the money. Don't play with me. And so she gets out of the car, goes back to the car with Tony because, of course, Tony took her and he was waiting. So Tony looking like, why you back in here? Like, you done that quick? She was like, no, I ain't nobody's fool. He ain't got no money and I ain't giving him no service. Like, no. Like, he crazy. So Tony gets mad, like, it was him. Like, what are you getting out? She should have been like, what the hell you getting mad for? You go out there and get him some service then. So he gets out of the car, storms over to the car, and the college student looks and see him like coming over to his car, so he gets out. So Tony and him is bickering back and forth, like they going back and forth. And Tony like, no, you wasted my girl time. She can't wait all the way over here. We wasted gas. And you knew you didn't have no money. Like, you about to pay her for coming over here. And he like, I ain't about to pay her nothing. Like, I ain't get no service. I ain't paying nothing. Like, no. And he was like, you about to give her something. So as the conversation kept going, Tony was getting even more heated. Like, he was the prostitute. Like, he had Zelle or something. Tony pulls out a gun and shoots the guy 5 times. Like, literally. When he pulls out the gun, old boy turns around and hardtail, but like Tony had the aims and he shot old boy 5 times, killing him. So by this time, he takes the guy's phone, turns around, run back to the car, and him and Tiffany get the hell out of there. Like they fast, like Sonic type fast. That like they out of there, they spinning tires, everything, like all the smoking stuff from the tires, like all in the air. They gone. And oh boy, dead on the ground. So a couple of days go by and everything. Someone sees the college student, calls the police. Detectives are detecting like they always do, and they start investigating and everything. And goes to the the college student dorm and find the laptop where him and Tiffany was having conversations to meet up. So then they goes to Tiffany's parents' house and like, yeah, we're looking for your daughter, Tiffany. Tiffany is a whole prostitute out here. And the parents like, prostitute? She works at Walmart or like the gas station. Wherever it is 20 open 24 hours. My baby ain't no prostitute. No, your baby a whole prostitute out here. Like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Your daughter's a prostitute. And she's a Zelle prostitute. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so basically they call her up on the phone like, detectives are here saying that you're a prostitute, first and foremost. Tell me that's a lie. And she like, you know. And they like, well, they got questioning because they saying that this happened to a college student and you might have something to do with it. And Tiffany pleads her like, no, remember, like, I was at your house, like, and what happened was after Tony shot the boy, Tiffany wound up going to her parents' house that night. And when she came in the door, y'all, she was shaking. So her parents knew something was wrong, but didn't know what. They asked her, was she okay? She said, yeah, went to bed. But they knew something was wrong because she was shaking like a little leaf, like it was cold outside, like she was listening to some type of booty shaking music because she was just gibbering. But they really didn't think nothing of it, and she said she was fine. So now, like, the parents thinking, like, she came over here the other day, so was that, like, the whole thing? And mind you, she came over because before her and Tony met up with this college student, that's who was watching her baby, her actual parents and not Tony's mother. So of course, like, she did seem like kind of suspicious, but at the same time, her baby was there and everything. So why wouldn't she come to spend the night? So now at this point, she knows the detectives want her everything. They go pick her up, take her and Tony in for questioning, and they just couldn't prove nothing right away. But they decided to keep Tony because he violated his parole or whatever. So they decided to keep him, but at the same time releasing Tiffany. And so at this time, Tiffany, you know, free as a bird and thinking like everything nice, you know, with a little spice. So she thinking she done got off. Well, they wind up like investigating even more and everything, and seeing a conversation between, you know, the college student and her. And then they started basically connecting all the dots to the point where now everything is pointing to Tony and Tiffany, and they were proven to be the last people that saw him. So at this point, they bring Tiffany back in, and they charge Tiffany and Tony with murder or whatever. And Tony gets 20 years when he goes to court for murder. And some weird type of way, because 21 years was like weird to me because he got 21 years. That was weird and thrown off. Like the number was just thrown off. But what was even weirder was Tiffany only got 3 years for like robbery or whatever. She got like 3 years. But I'm assuming that Tony and Tiffany's story all added up, and Tony admitted to like shooting the guy, because that's the only thing I get out of like him getting 21 years and her getting 3. But I guess they figured out she wasn't the one who pulled the trigger or nothing like that, and it was all Tony. But 21 years for murder, 21 years for killing somebody. And if I'm not mistaken, being on good behavior will decrease your time. That whole thing was weird. But anyway, yep, that's what happened. They wound up killing a college student, and they both got time for it. And remember, this episode was on For My Man, and everybody seemed to like For My Man. But this episode was on For My Man. You guys don't forget to like, comment, and definitely subscribe to my channel. We would love to have you over here joining the family fun and story times. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share this video, bring some traffic over here so I can grow. No, you guys, peace.